Chiseche Mibenge, and I am a professor at Lehman College, CUNY College, in the Bronx. My research is a research about narratives, and I look at legal and judicial human rights law narratives about gender and violence in post-conflict countries, particularly Rwanda and Sierra Leone and the former Yugoslavia. Well, one of the surprising findings is the issue of naming crimes. And at the level of international criminal law, we've been naming a lot of new crimes, war crimes, crimes against humanity. And at the domestic level, you've got abortion, you've got infanticide, you have killing a child, and they're different crimes. In fact, one is not a crime, it's decriminalized in most countries. So names are important. Yeah? And at a layman's level, you'll have somebody who will refer to abortion, termination of a pregnancy, as a killing, and they're wrong legally, even if their sentiment may be in that direction. So at the level of international criminal law, naming is important. And recently you have a new development where sexual violence has finally entered the lexicon of international criminal law. So we finally acknowledge that sexual violence is a war crime. However, in introducing sexual violence into the war crime narrative, we've been a little bit careless, a little bit sloppy with our naming of specific elements of sexual violence, specific variations of sexual violence. So for example, you'll have a forced marriage or a bushwife or an early marriage. And these are violations of, these are conjugal, forced conjugal relationships. But in elevating them to war crimes, there's a collapsing of a war crime and domestic violations of girls' human rights. And I think that this is my most surprising finding, how easily we collapse ordinary cultural, harmful cultural practices, how easily and without any nuance or any critique, how easily we elevate those to war crimes and stigmatize, overtly stigmatize the domestic acts. What does the study of forced marriage tell us about normal marriage? There is no normal marriage. Yeah? The study of forced marriage forces us to acknowledge that in having a normal marriage, we're imposing a respectability, a normativity, a hegemonic normativity on what we understand. In having forced marriage and assuming a normal marriage, we're putting a stamp of authority and legitimacy on what we believe is marriage. And it is dangerous because it prevents us from investigating and exposing harmful practices, inequality and discrimination within so-called normal marriage. So taking attention away from normal marriage and its abuses and focusing on this thing that happens in Afghanistan, in Sierra Leone, in armed conflict in Yugoslavia and Rwanda, we are leaving a whole group of women in normal marriages unprotected.